Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. In this video, our group, which is Group 8, will be presenting about a poem entitled To Overland Mail by Rudyard Kipling through postcolonial lens. So a little bit about the poet. Rudyard Kipling is one of the most notable poets, journalists, and novelists of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He was born in British India in Mumbai in 1865. His upbringing and life were heavily shaped and influenced by the colonial culture, society, and environment. His works often shows his admiration for the British Empire, and he was both celebrated and critiqued for that. So this is the poem entitled The Overland Mail by Rudyard Kipling. In the name of the Emperors of India, make way, O lords of the jungle, wherever you roam. The woods are astir at the close of the day. We exiles are waiting for letters from home. Let the robber retreat, let the tiger turn tail. In the name of the empress, the overland mail. With a jingle of bells as the dusk gathers in, he turns to the footpath that heads up the hill. The bag's on his back and the clothes are on his chin, and tucked in his waist belt the post office bill. Dispatch on this date is received by the rail, per runner, 2 bags of the overland mail. Is the torrent in spate? He must ford it or swim. Has the rain wrecked the road? He must climb by the cliff. Does the tempest guard halt? What a tempest to him! The service admits not a but or an if, while the brass in his mouth he must spare without fail. In the name of the empress, the overland mail. From aloe to rose oak, from rose oak to fir, from level to upland, from upland to crest, from rice field to rock ridge, from rock ridge to spur. Fly the soft-sandaled feet, strains the browny brown chase, from rail to raven, to the peak from the vale. Up, up through the night goes the overland mail. There's a speck on the hillside, a toad on the road, a jingle of bells on the footpath below. There's a scuffle above in the monkey's abode. The world is awake and the clouds are aglow, for the great sun himself must attain to the hill, in the name of the empress, the overland mail. So this poem, The Overland Mail, is like a tribute for the mail runners, where in this poem, the poet tells the story about the bravery and also the experiences of the mail runner, which is the people who carried letters, went through hardship just to deliver the letters across India during British imperialism. The first point of the analysis of this poem is we could say that the poem supports colonial labor. As we could see in the poem, the poet vividly describes the environment, hardships, and physical challenges faced by the mail runner, portraying the mail runner's journey as noble and heroic. In the poem, the poet glorifies the runner's perseverance through danger in order to just deliver the letters. So from a post-colonial perspective, this glorification display the exploitation nature in the colonial system. It frames the suffering of the colonized people as a noble sacrifice, neglecting the unequal power and lack of choice faced by the workers, the colonized people. And as in this poem, the mail runners, like many other workers under British rule, often had no choice but to endure this hardship.
I will talk about imperialism that could be found in the poem. So as we all know, imperialism is when a country tries to control other countries or territories by force or any other way to insert dominance. The lines that urging robbers and tigers to retreat highlight the expectation that native elements should submit to the higher authority. The phrase "let the robber retreat, let the tiger turn tail" suggests that both human and animal traits must yield to the imperial mandate, symbolizing imperialist superiority. Basically, they think they are better and more human than the colonized. Furthermore, the postal service itself portrayed as a symbol of modernity and progress, representing imperialism and advancement in the communication and infrastructure. This aligns with the imperial narrative that positions colonialism as a civilizing mission, bringing order and development to the what so-called backward lands such as India. So the colonizer in the poem feels like they are doing them favor and some sort of improvement when the real problem is they just want to insert dominance over something that isn't theirs.
Next, let's move on to the third point, which is infrastructure exploitation. So why the overland mail celebrating the efficiency of British colonial postal system, it is also subtly reveals the economic exploitation underlying the colonial enterprise, and especially the infrastructure. It can be understood by the extensive use of natural resources and the construction of infrastructure. Therefore, the interaction with local wildlife and the changing landscape reflect infrastructure exploitation of the colonies, where the success of the colonial enterprise often comes at the expense of local communities and their environment. Go to the lines in the poem that work as the substantial of the infrastructure exploitation. Okay, the first one is in the name of the emperors of India, make way, or lords of the jungle whenever you roam. So the lords of the jungle here refers to the both animal and indigenous ruler or people or natural element who inhabits the country. So they are being commanded to clear the path for the British mail. So this line illustrates that dominance of the colonizer over the native ruler and the land itself. So the next line is he turns to the footpath that heads up to the hill. This verse illustrates the mail carrier journey through difficult terrain. The imagery of the hill sets the scene for the mail carrier journey. It evokes the idea of nature being, which originally supposed to be the people's part of their life and their original infrastructure, now seems to become obstacle for the mail carrier journey. This verse illustrates the idea of some sort of idea to hate the local nature and the extent of more infrastructure exploitation should be done to help the mail carrier journey. Next, there is line that said from aloe to rose oak, from rose oak to fir, from level to upland, from upland to crest. So these diverse flowers in the line mentioned signifies the varied landscape the mail carrier traverses. It's symbolizing the vastness of the colonial territory. These lines reflect the extraction and utilization of local resources by the colonial power. The British exploited India's rich natural resources for their own economic gain, using the country's vast landscape and varied flora to support colonial infrastructure and trade. In conclusion, the displacement and disruption of local infrastructure and way of life by colonial systems often disrupt the people's traditional practices, economic and also social structure, which is forcing the local population to adapt to the demands of the colonial economy, which is often prioritized the British interest.
Moving on to final point, which is the runner as the subaltern. First of all, what is subaltern? The term subaltern refers to people who are marginalized, oppressed, or excluded from power in society. They often have no voice or representation because those in power ignore or silence them. So in this poem, those in power, which is the empire, and the silence or the oppressed one is the runner. The runner in the poem represents the workers under colonial rule who were essential to keeping the empire running, but were never acknowledged or given a voice. So even the runner works incredibly hard, even he risks his life without being recognized as a person. He is just seen as a part of the system. The system ignores him. Other than that, the poem doesn't talk about the unfair conditions or inequality he faces. Instead, it makes his struggle sound noble, as if he is doing something great for the empire rather than being forced to work under tough circumstances. For example, in the third paragraph, 5th line, while the bread's in his mouth, he must bear without fail. This line shows how the runner is expected to keep working no matter what, even he is risking his life. He is expected to go to work. But the poem only focuses on his loyalty to the empire, not the difficulties or exploitation he goes through. To conclude, by emphasizing on the empire's achievement, the poem glorifies or romanticizes colonial labor as noble and essential, ignoring all the exploitation of workers like the runner. It romanticized the runner's struggle while erasing his identity and reducing him to a tool of the empire. He is not seen as a person. The poem also highlights the efficiency of imperial system and infrastructure, masking the fact that these were built on the backs of exploited local labor. By portraying colonial rule as heroic and necessary, it reinforces the ideals of imperialism while silencing the voice of subaltern figures like the runner, who bear the true cost of these systems.